So who do I think is getting an Oscar nomination next year for Best Director? Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome to the awards contender. So my early Oscar prediction series is nearing its end. After this, I just have picture and then one more fun video I'm going to do in December. Today we are talking Best Director, which at this moment, you guys, in mid-November, it feels like there are 6 really strong contenders to get into those 5 slots. Who is going to miss? That's the big question. I mean, I am going to talk about a few other contenders here, like 14, 15 names. There are a few others that maybe could slip in there. I do think though, in a way, it is down to 6. Let's begin with the locks. Let's begin with the people who are for sure getting in. Paul Thomas Anderson, one battle after another. It's his time, guys. I mean, outside of a shocker, even if one battle after another doesn't win picture for whatever reason, I still think Paul Thomas Anderson wins director. I just don't think there's anyone this season who can stop him. There are some other wonderful films and directors. It just seems like it's PTA's time. He has 11 Oscar nominations going back to the 90s without a win. He's never won before, and he has made some incredible movies throughout the decades because especially One Battle After Another is one of his very best and could very well win Best Picture. I can't imagine someone else winning director. This is PTA's moment. I cannot wait. And this is a good time, I guess, to tell you guys, next month on the awards contender, I'm finally making Paul Thomas Anderson and the Elusive Oscar. I am doing a deep dive into his entire career and his many races at the Oscars. That video is coming in December. So yeah, it's not a matter of is PTA getting nominated at the Oscars in director? He's 100% getting in. I mean, I guess you could say there's a 0.1% chance he doesn't win for whatever reason. But he's winning, guys. He's going to win in this category. Who do I have in second place? I do have Khloe Xiao for Hamnet. I think she's in second. If she hadn't already won before a few years ago for Nomadland, I would say maybe she can be a closer second. Because she's won already, that's where I'm where is the narrative going to be for Khloe Xiao to actually beat Paul Thomas Anderson? I don't really see it. She is for sure, though, getting in. Hamnet is one of the very best films of the year. Her direction of that is superb. It is beautiful every step of the way in that thing. The performances she gets out of her actors, the lovely cinematography. She did an amazing job on Hamnet. And every year it seems now, every year we get a woman in Best Director. I think that's a great thing. I think every year we should have one, and this year it's absolutely going to be Khloe Xiao. I think it's cool, kind of similar to Jane Campion, who got a Best Director Oscar nomination for The Piano in the 90s, and then came back many years later with The Power of the Dog and won. I do think it's cool that Khloe Xiao has gotten into the category, has won already, and is going to be nominated again. I can't wait. Who do I have in slot 3? I mean, I don't know if I would call this a lock. I don't know if any of us can say for sure it's a lock, but it's pretty close to one. Jafar Panahi, it was just an accident. The Palme d'Or winner at Cannes last May. I saw this movie at TIFF, and it just blew me away. It is so well directed, so tense and suspenseful and well acted, and that ending, holy shit, the ending of that film is an all-timer. And I just think Jafar Panahi has a narrative this season. Everything he's gone through in his career, in his life, going back decades, he is going to have a narrative. He's made this incredible film. And in Best Director, we often get at least one international player there, right? An international nominee, sometimes two. In the last few years, it's not just 5 Americans who get into Best Director at the Oscars. There's often 1 or 2 international picks. Who's going to be the international pick this year? I think there are 2 people who are probably getting in. I think even more so than the other one I'm about to talk about, I just think Jafar Panahi has a very good shot. It was just an accident. I feel pretty confident it's getting into Best Picture and International Feature, of course. I don't think it's getting into an acting category, but screenplay, absolutely. And it just seems like they're going to give Panahi this very well-deserved Oscar nomination for director. I just think that's going to happen, even if it's not like third place. Maybe he's in fourth or fifth or something. I do think he's going to make the final five. Those are the three I feel most confident about right now. There is some wiggle room in both slots 4 and 5, where we could get a couple big surprises on Oscar nominations morning. But I don't know, guys. I'm feeling pretty good about slot 4 going to Yachim Trier for Sentimental Value. He did a fantastic job on that film. The performances he got out of his actors, there are some really lovely directorial touches all throughout the film. And that movie did very well at Cannes. It did well at the fall festivals. I mean, I have gotten a sense in the last few weeks, maybe Sentimental Value is fading slightly. And one other thing about Sentimental Value, I feel like some Academy voters might walk out of that movie, think it's a terrific film, really love the performances. They might say, do we have to give this a director nomination? It's not like overly flashy in its directing and stuff. I mean, I kind of disagree with that though. I think the opening of that film, just like the first 5 minutes of Sentimental Value, it's so interesting from a directorial standpoint. So I think it's more than just like an ensemble piece. It's just about the performances and nothing else. I do think he deserves to get that Best Director nomination, especially since he did not get into director for The Worst Person in the World. And with these two movies, he has really come onto the scene and proven himself as a dynamite director. So I want him to get in. I think because he's an international director, that helps his chances. Even if he's not in slot 4, maybe it's 5. I could see him missing on Oscar nominations morning. It wouldn't be a huge shocker to me. That's the one I don't think anyone should get too confident about. Yachim Trier, Sentimental Value getting into director. I mean, he's for sure getting into screenplay. That's happening. With the 2 categories, 5 in original, 5 in adapted. He's definitely getting in there. Can he miss in director? Yes, he can. But even if he's slot 5 and not 4, I just think Sentimental Value is going to do very well. It's getting into picture, up to 4 acting nominations for that movie, screenplay. It would be kind of weird to me for him to miss in director, so I am predicting him in this video. So those are my main 4. I think those 4 are pretty well safe. I mean, 1 or 2 of them I guess could miss in a shocker, but I think those 4 probably get in. And then you get to slot 5, and there are a few things that could happen there. I do think there are just 2 other significant contenders battling it out for the 5th place slots. I'm going to talk about some other names here, some other people who could surprise. It's only November. Things can happen between now and January. We have a few weeks to go. Some movies might fade over the next few weeks, and some might get stronger, especially by early January and stuff. So, there's a few other people I'm going to talk about in this video who could show up in director on Oscar nominations morning. Guillermo del Toro, Frankenstein. Could that happen? The Academy really loves del Toro. He won for The Shape of Water a few years ago. He was not nominated in director for Nightmare Alley 2021, but the film got into picture in kind of a surprise. Frankenstein seems to be building, right? I saw it at TIFF and I liked elements of it. I didn't think it was amazing or anything, but people are starting to believe it has a chance at picture, maybe supporting actor for Jacob Elordi, maybe screenplay, it'd be an adapted. And adapted is pretty open right now. Could del Toro surprise on Oscar nominations morning in director? I do think it's possible, guys. I don't think that's like a 0% chance. I think there's a 1 or 2% chance he shows up there and we're like, whoa, holy shit, he made it into director. I can see that reality because he's so beloved. He's been making wonderful films going back to the 90s, and he doesn't get nominated for everything he does. There's something to Frankenstein I feel like could do well on Oscar nominations morning. In the tech categories, I could see it getting 3, 4, 5 nominations there maybe. And if it gets into picture and screenplay and maybe 1 acting category, I do think del Toro has a shot in director. If a couple of these people I'm talking about in this video that I feel confident are getting the Oscar nomination, If somehow between like now and early January they fall off a cliff for whatever reason, Del Toro could slip in there in the 5th place slots. I would not feel comfortable predicting him today. I don't think that's going to happen, but it is a possibility. Yorgos Lanthimos for Begonia, I mean, I could float that maybe. He was nominated in director at the Oscars for The Favorites and Poor Things. He's been in that category twice before, and he did a wonderful job on Begonia. It's very well directed all the way through. It's really gorgeous to look at. The performances from his actors, that ending. Like Lanthimos, I mean, I think he should be on the list. I don't think he gets the Oscar nomination. I just think Begonia isn't quite strong enough. It's not going to hang on long enough to January to get it anything past, like what, maybe picture? I still have it floating around 10th place. It could get into picture. I don't think it's going to. And then you have Emma Stone, an actress. Very strong possibility. She is nominated for Best Actress. Jesse Plemons, I don't think gets into Best Actor. That category is just way too competitive. But in a way, I think Plemons has a better shot of getting the Oscar nomination than Lanthimos in Director. I just don't think that happens for him this year. I don't think Begonia is as beloved a movie as The Favorite and Poor Things when it comes to the top categories. So I don't think Lanthimos makes it in. Someone I do think can get in. I think there's a very small possibility. It'll depend on, how well the film is received the next few weeks, past just the box office and things. Let's see how it does at the Globes and Critics' Choice and stuff. John M. Chu for Wicked for Good. I do think that could happen. If there's enough passion for the second film, and there is this feeling of like, let's give him a director nomination, not just for the second film, but for both films in a way. Let's give him the nomination to say thank you for doing a great job turning this incredible Broadway musical, beloved the world over, to life in these two very successful, very entertaining movies. If he really sticks the landing in that second film, which I think he's going to, as this video drops, guys, I am just hours away from seeing Wicked for Good. So get ready for my review. It's coming shortly. I think the problem is the movies are just so big. It's kind of that Denis Villeneuve Dune thing where the films are so grand in scale. They're just not looked at as a directorial achievement, even though they should be. I think Wicked for Good is pretty safe in picture, obviously an actress and supporting actress. Outside of the film, just overperforming. It gets into adapted screenplay, a couple technical categories we're not expecting. Supporting actor maybe for Jonathan Bailey, and director for John M. Chu. The Academy goes all in on the second and final Wicked movie. Then I could see Chu maybe popping up there. I wouldn't predict it right now. I don't see it, but there is a very small possibility. Speaking of giant films, how about James Cameron and Avatar: Fire and Ash? Could Cameron get into director for that? I watched a video in recent weeks where someone was predicting him to make the final 5 for Best Director at the Oscars. And I was like, oh, to be honest, guys, I hadn't even been thinking about James Cameron as being a director contender this year. I just, it didn't even, enter my head. I'm like, oh, right. I mean, it's going to be a huge film at the end of December, maybe the biggest hit of the year. And he was nominated in director for the first film. So maybe he should be on the list as like a very outside contender. But I think there's 2 big problems with Cameron getting in this time. He wasn't nominated for the second Avatar film, 2022. He missed there. So it's why would they snub him for the second movie, but get him in for the third? That doesn't make sense. And the other big problem is, it's not like this is capping off a trilogy of 3 movies and that's it. Kind of like a Lord of the Rings situation where this is the finale, Return of the King, it's the end. Okay, well, it's the end of the story. Let's give the director a nomination at the Oscars. I believe James Cameron is making at least 2 more, right? Avatar 4 and Avatar 5 in the years to come. Because it's going to continue into more movies, a long-running series. That's why I think James Cameron has no shot in hell of getting the Best Director Oscar nomination. Because I saw him being predicted in a video in recent weeks. I felt like I had to add him in this video and talk about him a bit, but I don't think he's getting nominated for the third Avatar film. Park Chan-wook, No Other Choice. This is a nomination I think should happen. He deserves it. I mean, his direction of that movie just completely blew my mind when I saw that film at TIFF a few weeks ago. The directing of No Other Choice is some of the best I've seen in any movie in 2025. That man has made some incredible films going back decades. He still has never received an Oscar nomination. I do think it's finally going to happen, guys, in Best Adapted Screenplay for No Other Choice. There's room in that category. There's not like a ton of Best Picture contenders in there this year, so I think he's getting that. I'm like 99%. Can he get into Best Director? I don't think so. I don't really understand why he doesn't have a better shot of getting into Director. Like, he's an international figure, very well respected. He made one of his best movies with No Other Choice. I do think he should be there. I guess the main problem there is that No Other Choice is very funny at times. It has a comedic element to it. I laughed a lot watching it at TIFF. So maybe because of the humorous aspect, that makes it harder for Park Chan-wook to get into Director at the Oscars. But One Battle After Another is very funny as well, so I don't know. I don't think that should be a factor. If I was an Academy voter, I would have him on my list. He would be in my 5. He deserves to be an Oscar nominee next year, not just for screenplay, but also for director. Kleber Mendonça Filho for The Secret Agent. Could he surprise in Best Director? I also think there's like an outside possibility of that. The direction of that film is very well done. The Secret Agent could be one of those movies we're underestimating right now. That could get into Best Picture, Best Actor for Wagner Moura, Best International Feature. It's of course getting in there. Like, could that get into Director? I think the problem is there are so many wonderful international contenders this year that there's not going to be room for all of them, right? We can't nominate 3, 4, 5 of them here. So it's like, could Filho get in over Panahi? I don't think so. I think at the end of the day, it was just an accident. Will be a stronger performing movie at the Oscars than The Secret Agent, and I do feel the same way about Sentimental Value. So I feel like Trier and Panahi have a better shot in director than Filho. I don't think that's going to happen. Although he did win Best Director at Cannes. Let's not forget that. Like, he won director there. So I would keep him on the list. It is not impossible. I just think the category is so crazy competitive right now. I just don't think there's room for him. Noah Baumbach has still never received a Best Director Oscar nomination. It didn't happen for Marriage Story, even though I have to remind myself of that. When I think about 2019, part of me is like, he got into director for that as well, right? Oh wait, no, he didn't. He just got into screenplay. So he's been around a long time, since the 90s, making wonderful films. Jay Kelly has a lot of buzz behind it. It looks like it's probably getting into Best Picture and Screenplay, at least one acting category. Could he get into director for that? I don't think so, guys. I don't think Baumbach has a prayer, really, to get into director at the Oscars for that movie. Again, the competition in director is just way too fierce. I mean, if Jay Kelly was a top 5 film, in Best Picture, it's in the top 5 slots, not the second 5, then I would float him more. I just think not many Academy members are going to watch Jay Kelly and think Best Director. I just don't think that's going to happen. I felt like I had to mention him because Jay Kelly, we've been talking about for most of 2025 as a big awards contender, and he's been nominated time and time again at the Oscars before, always in screenplay. Will he ever get a director nomination? Maybe in the years to come, but not for Jay Kelly. Mona Fastvold, The Testament of Anne Lee, I just think the movie isn't quite strong enough to have her in contention for a Best Director nomination. I do think some people are sleeping on that film in a way. It could do much better on Oscar nominations morning than some people are expecting. It could get into Best Picture, guys. That is on the table. I do think that's a possibility, along with Screenplay, maybe. I think Amanda Seyfried has a very good shot of getting an Oscar nomination for Best Actress. I think that film gets at least 2 or 3 technical nominations, maybe more. Could it get into director? That would very much surprise me. I just think there's going to be enough divisive reactions from some people with that movie. You know, there's going to be some passion for it, some love, but there are going to be people who want like nothing to do with the Testament of Anne Lee, especially when it comes to the second half of that film, which I don't think is as successful as the first half. So like, I do think it could get into picture. I am floating that one. You know, when I make my picture predictions video, I'm gonna consider the Testament of Anne Lee getting like that 10th place slots. That's possible. Mona Fastfold in Best Director, I would love to see it. That would be awesome. I think she would be worthy. And I would love to see 2 women get into Best Director at the Oscars. I would love that, guys, with my full heart. I just don't think it's going to happen for Mona Fastfold. Same thing with another very talented woman who, like Khloe Xiao, has also won an Oscar for Best Director, Catherine Bigelow, A House of Dynamite. When that film premiered at Venice, 2 glowing reviews, I got very excited. I was like, is Bigelow coming back for another director Oscar nomination? I thought it was possible. And then like the enthusiasm for that movie, like the buzz started to die down, and then I watched it on its first day on Netflix, and it didn't really work for me, guys, past the first like 30 to 40 minutes. The rest of the film really bored me and frustrated me, to be honest. So like, I'm not even sure at this moment if A House of Dynamite gets a single Oscar nomination in anything. You know, maybe in screenplay, maybe editing or something, it's possible. But yeah, I don't think A House of Dynamite gets into Best Picture anymore. That is off the table. And sadly, I don't think Catherine Bigelow gets into Director. I just think that ship has sailed. So that's about it, guys. That's about it. I mean, I could float a few other contenders. I really adored Celine Song's work on Materialist, Zach Krager Weapons. But I do think these 14, 15 talented directors I'm spending some time discussing in this video, they're really the only ones who could break in. And as we reach the conclusion here, like the ending of this video, I have 2 final people to talk about. So going back to the beginning, right? In the top 4 slots, I have PTA, Khloe Xiao, Jafar Panahi, and Yachim Trier. I wouldn't say like those last 2 are locks, but pretty close to locks. I feel pretty good about them. Who gets the 5th place slots? I do think it's one of these 2 figures. The first one is Ryan Coogler for Sinners. Is Ryan Coogler going to receive his first Oscar nomination for Best Director for that film? He deserves to be in there, I think. That film was a huge box office hit, did very well with audiences and critics, has hung on strong the last few months, and is going to be a significant awards player. I do think it's going to do well. I will be very surprised and disappointed, guys, if Sinners on Oscar nominations morning vastly underperforms. It just gets like picture, screenplay, 2 technical nominations, that's it. You know, it gets like 4 nominations, nothing in acting, nothing in director. There's no really cool like surprise Oscar nomination for Sinners. Like that will bum me out. I don't know about you. I'm hoping Sinners can still get like 6, 7, maybe 8 Oscar nominations. I want Ryan Coogler to get into Best Director. His direction of that film is spectacular. Like the cinematography, the performances, the pacing of that story, the ending, like all of the horror elements of it with the vampires and the use of music in that film. It's all so beautifully done. It would be really weird and upsetting and disappointing, guys, if Ryan Coogler misses in director. He deserves to be there. I think he has a very, very good shot of making it, even if it's slot 5. And he has, of course, no chance in hell of winning. I think he should make that final 5. The problem is, there's one other person I am also floating, predicting today, and that's Josh Safdie, Marty Supreme. I think Josh Safdie could take Ryan Coogler's slots, get into slot 5, and be an Oscar nominee for Best Director. I haven't seen Marty Supreme yet, but everything I've heard about it, read about it, it sounds like a remarkable directorial achievement from Josh Safdie. It's 3 hours long. Timothée Chalamet might well win the Oscar for Best Actor. Marty Supreme is guaranteed, I think, to get into picture, in screenplay. It probably gets like 2 acting nominations, like not just Chalamet. I think someone else will show up in supporting actress maybe. So it's like, man, is that movie 3 hours long, very well directed, very flashy from beginning to end for 3 hours. It gets into picture and screenplay in these top categories. Would it miss director? You know, I'm struggling with that, guys. Part of me wants to predict Josh Safdie in a way over Ryan Coogler, that enough Academy members might look at Sinners as a vampire film, as a blockbuster movie that just made a lot of money at the box office way back in April, and they might look at Marty Supreme as more of an artistic achievement, like from a directorial standpoint. You know, with that film opening on Christmas Day, I do think it's going to come on strong, right? At the end of December into January. And there might be that thinking come mid-January that Sinners is a great film. We all really liked it. We'll give it picture and screenplay, maybe 1 acting nomination, 2 or 3 technicals, and that's it. We don't have to give it director for Coogler. Like, he will get into original screenplay. Like, that'll be his nomination for that movie. He will be taken care of. But the direction in Marty Supreme is just so spectacular for 3 hours. And that's the much newer film. We're going with Josh Safdie over Ryan Coogler at the end of the day. I can see that happening. I can see the other 4 I talked about at the beginning of the video getting in pretty safely. And then that 5th place slot, it's not Ryan Coogler. It's not John M. Chu or Yorgos Lanthimos or Del Toro or any of those guys. They go with Josh Safdie, Marty Supreme, which you could argue is maybe like a top 5 best picture contender. Marty Supreme, I don't think will be in the bottom 5. It might be in the top. So I have gone back and forth on this today, you guys. Like for a minute there, I thought, let's go with Josh Safdie. That, in a way, makes more sense. Like, they might just nominate him. But I have decided, pretty much like right now, you know, after having talked my way through it, I am still going with Ryan Coogler. I think his body of work the last few years has just been so impressive, and his movie was just such a giant hit. It was the most talked about film in the first 6 months of 2025. Sinners is an astonishing work of art, entertaining, a wild ride from beginning to end. I just think with his body of work going back to Fruitvale Station and Creed and Black Panther, he's been such a dependable director. He keeps growing. He keeps making these amazing films. And Sinners, you could argue, is his best movie to date. He should get into Best Director. I do think in a very close race, it's going to be Coogler, and that's who I'm going with in this video. So the winner of Best Director at the 98th Academy Awards, I do think that's already set in stone, guys. I do. I think it's a foregone conclusion. Paul Thomas Anderson is finally going to win the Oscar for Best Director. But there's still a race in this category, especially in slots 4 and 5. A few different things can happen. You know, it's only mid-November. It's hard to say exactly what's going to go down in Best Director in January, but right now, these are my early Oscar predictions. They are Paul Thomas Anderson, One Battle After Another, Khloe Xiao, Hamnet, Jafar Panahi, It Was Just an Accident, Yachim Trier, Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler, Sinners. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below who are you predicting right now to get into Best Director at the 98th Academy Awards, and stay tuned for my next early Oscar predictions video all about Best Picture. I'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.